All righty. Good evening, everybody. My name is Shaq Mack. I am the owner and CEO of the Dover Dogs men's basketball team, affiliated with the American Basketball Association. So recently, we started a podcast called The Dog Report. And so the Dog Report is just a way for our basketball team to engage more, not only with our fans, with the community. And so that's going to lead us to our talk today, which is about community involvement and community engagement. And so when we look at community involvement and community engagement, that in itself is, very important, because when you look at the aspect of how you start an organization, a small business, or you want to get your face out there and get your team well known, you have to be out in the community, and you have to be willing to volunteer your time, make sacrifices, and do a lot more that you normally wouldn't do, in order for yourself to get out there. And so before we get into our talk, I want to introduce you to our first guest. So welcome, Jay. How's it going today?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just sitting in the back. Everything's going well. Thank you for the invite.
Not
Appreciate it, definitely.
not a problem. So what I'll do is I'm gonna have you introduce yourself to to our Dover Dog Nation. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. I'm gonna I'm gonna ask for another 30 seconds because I want to switch up because I'm seeing you kind of choppy. So I'm gonna switch
Oh,
up on the IP address so I can get a better. I'm gonna try to get a better signal. This way we're
all right,
not choppy. Just bear with me. All right, we're gonna try that one there because I don't want to be choppy on your show. That'd be a totally disrespect to you and your show. Can you hear me okay now?
yeah, I can still hear you good.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Brother Ron, always a pleasure. Brother Ron, yes, yes, yes. Brother Ron, welcome, 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 as I like to say. I like to give many thanks to Shaq here for inviting me. My name is Jay. I'm the candle connoisseur of Top to Bottom, which is a hair and skincare company that my wife and I, we created. And we deal with hair and skincare, lotions, shampoos, beauty bars, we have accessories as well. We have bonnets. I mean, it's a bunch of stuff that we have. We have it, and the most important part to know about our company is that it's toxic free, and of course that we have no. One of the biggest things that we try to explain to people is not only are we toxic free, but we have two things that many other companies don't have, which is one, when you reach out to us via email or phone call, we actually answer. Okay, we're the ones actually picking up the phone and we're actually answering. And of course, the most important thing is we want the ingredients that everybody can read comfortably, because we believe if you can read the ingredient, you're going to be comfortable with the actual product. So those are the two biggest things that we have with the company. And as I mentioned, it's a hair and skin care line, which of course is the name of the company is Top to Bottom, because we believe from the top of the head all the way to the bottom of the feet. And of course, our slogan is caring for the whole self. So we want to make sure that we provide products that would make people comfortable and of course won't get anybody sick. That's our biggest goal. And we try to provide something that a lot of people are looking forward to now. Products that are toxic free. And then I would like to use the word healthy, because a lot of other products out there are messed up, and we did a couple of things about that. And I think if we have any other further questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them later.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, thank you for that introduction to the Dover Dog Nation. So, as a small business owner, yourself as a small business owner for the Dover Dogs, we have to face these challenges of community engagement. So, what are
Yes.
some of the biggest challenges that you face in your local community right now?
Well, in our community, our biggest hurdle is getting people to trust. Trust is a big thing, because many people, they've been so inclined to learn about things that are not healthy for them, and they are afraid to try something new. Yet it's starting to change because we're out there every day. We're introducing it to the community. We're reaching out. We just recently, congratulations to my wife. If I could just put this out there, she got her first shelf. She's actually in store now. It's a major milestone for her. So now she's actually in store. So the top to bottom line is actually in the store, which is a great milestone for her. And I'm so proud of her. It's disgusting. Okay. And I want people to understand why I'm so proud of her, because it's tricky. It's difficult. And the community welcomed us with open arms. Okay. One of the closest allies that we have is a restaurant that allowed us to have a couple of pop-up shops there. And when we had the pop-up shops, it was an excellent turnout. Okay. Because anything that where you get community involvement and community feedback, it becomes an excellent turnout. Then, of course, when we had the grand opening at the in-store, it was another wonderful turnout. And we're just pushing harder. And small businesses like ourselves and with you that you just started, and congratulations. I do know it's not months, but it's still recent. I believe you haven't hit your hot 5-year mark. So I want to say that it's new. And I'm sure that there's a lot of hurdles that you're going over. And yes, we as small businesses have a lot of struggles. And I think from our experience, the biggest hurdle would be the trust of the community. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. The same thing over here is the trust aspect, right? A guy from a different state coming in, adding a basketball team to, the capital of the first state. And, a lot of people don't know who I am. When a lot of people, hey, hear Shaq, they think,
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal, tall guy or whatnot, and I'm the opposite case here. I'm probably baby Shaq right now. So it's okay. But that trust there, right? You got to build the trust, not only with the community, with the players, with the fans as well, because when you put your product out there, when you put your name out there on the line, right? Someone brought this up to me the other day, is that when something goes wrong, it's not just one person, it's the whole organization as a whole, right? So when they look at it as, oh, well, Jay didn't mess up. No, the whole company messed up, or Shaq didn't mess up. The whole organization messed up. And so, it's tricky for us being still less than a year of being in business, trying to gain that trust with the community, because they don't see our face as often. But getting out into the community and building that rapport up with the community is definitely key. Because even if you do like a small clinic and like you said, those pop-up shops, because again, for you, those pop-up shops really help, grow where you're at right now within the community. It built that trust up. For us, it's those summer camps for the kids and inviting the youth into the games and doing something for the community that's small, local, whether it's us bringing in those video game trailers for them to kind of just do what we got to do to keep them engaged, right? And so that community engagement is key right there. So tell us, like, some resources that you feel are missing in your community that could be beneficial.
Well, the resources from my point of aspect is people learning about what the product can do for them. Okay. When you talk to a person, I'm sure I know Ron is there, so I'm gonna piggyback with Ron's experience. When you deal with a person that you haven't met in person and you doing everything virtually and or online in this essence, we started off as an online business, okay, and to get someone's trust because of a product they may or may not know about, it's difficult. They have to take that chance. And using Ron in this scenario, Ron took a chance. And after he took the chance, from what I'm hearing and from what he's been telling me, he is super excited. He's looking to only deal with top to bottom to take care of his hair and skincare needs, which is a fabulous thing. So the resource, to bring it back to a resource, the community is the fact of teaching them, empowering them to understand that there are things that they're utilizing day to day that's affecting their health. And we're trying to improve, or not improve, but assist them in getting a better health track. Because the hair, of course, we have to understand one thing. You don't you don't only have to fix your hair or your beard. You have to fix the inside first in order for everything else to work out. And the reason why I say that is because the wife has instructed me to understand, or taught me rather, we have an ingredient that's called MSM, and MSM is a real strong ingredient that the body needs. And it's mostly for the hair in our products. So when you utilize MSM, the body's going to say, wait a minute, before I fix your hair, I'm going to fix this organ or that joint or this bone. So we were only allowed to assist the person to get better, and we have to educate. So I believe the biggest resource is trying to get the people to at least listen and or watch our videos that we have put up so they can get educated on why our products may just be beneficial for their upcoming journeys.
Yeah, that's really key. Just speaking on your products, the other day, and I was washing my hair and everything, and once I got done, I'm like just rub my hands through my hair really fast, and I can notice the difference. Like it's not like as curly and tangled anymore, and I'm just like, oh, like this is awesome. Like when you sweat and you sweat, and you just smell your sweat dripping down. Now when I play basketball and I'm sweating, I can smell the scent of the product that I put in my hair, and you look at even with the face wash, like that face wash, I can feel it working through my pores like overnight too.
Okay.
Into the morning, like I know I get told like, oh, you still smell it on, you still smell it, even with the bear oil, that growth stuff, like it works, right? And you got to find that that formula that works for you, and you guys organic formula, and that's working for you guys, and it's building that social gap and that that with the community. For us as a basketball team, it's a little bit more trickier because sports is a universal language, and when we look at what we feel is missing is we need men and we need women as well to step into a sports role to educate, to bring the community together, because when we bring that community together, it speaks more volume, because what we see going on around the world is a lot of community coming together to protest and different things like that. But when we bring the community together for a more positive aspect, it speaks more volume to your community, and people can look at you in a different aspect, in a different way. And we look at basketball. Anybody can pick up a basketball and get to know someone else, even play volleyball, soccer, whatever the case may be. Any type of sport, someone can just jump in and be like, oh, I feel like I've known you for 100 years or whatever the case may be. But down the line, we just met that day playing soccer, basketball, volleyball. And then, we start jumping on the grill and cooking hamburgers and hot dogs and feeding the community. And that right there made a lasting impact on, who knows how many people. And then they want to come back and keep coming around and keep bringing their friends, because the best type of communication and best type of community comes with word of mouth, right? Because when you look at your word of mouth, it's like, oh, that person is like, I believe their word 100%. So I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna grab some of that product, or I'm gonna go out and check out a basketball game or whatever the case may be. And so when we look at these events, especially like in Delaware, we're missing a lot of basketball stars because we're letting those basketball stars walk and go to Pennsylvania, go to New Jersey, go to New York, and different things like that. And so bringing the community back together using basketball is what we're missing in the first state right now. And it sucks that I'm not physically in the first state to be able to give more into the community. But night and day, I'll take that hour and a half drive just to get to where we host our games at, in order to build up our community. Right. So we actually just built up a partnership with Delaware State University, where we're doing a lot of community engagement through them as well. And so they provide the facilities and stuff for us, but we go in and actually perform all of the work and do that kind of stuff. And so it's really baby steps, right? Like you said, baby steps is the key, because if I say, like I said, 10 years down the line, I want to be the first NBA team in Delaware, but I'm not going to jump right into that and say, all right, we're an NBA team, when in reality, we just a small baby team that's still growing. We got to make sure we got the right coaches in place, the right players in place, making sure that we get the sponsors in place and different things like that. So that's really key right there in itself.
That's definitely key.
Right. So, which it leads us to our, my next topic point right here, right, is how do you think being a sports organization for us and being a, top to bottom skincare organization, how, we can all work together as small business owners to bring our communities together to make a positive impact?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's almost like a two-part question, and it comes back to how you mentioned before about the barbecue,
Mm.
right? Everybody loves to eat. That's first and foremost, especially when it's free barbecue food. They're gonna come eat, right? So if the community comes together to eat the food and they see you guys playing ball, I'm gonna use old school terms like when I was a kid growing up. They see you playing ball, they're gonna hang out, they're gonna watch the game, they're gonna get together, everybody's gonna start talking. And then, of course, now top to bottom comes in and starts handing out business cards, a couple of little trinkets here and there. And then all of a sudden, now the question comes up: okay, why are they here? That's usually the question. Okay, why would a company be at a sports event? Yet, it actually is something that's beneficial because it's exposure, and depending on the company, they're gonna be there to explain why the collaboration is there. And then
Mm.
when they realize, okay, you know what? You look at basketball. Let's take sports in general. Like you said a moment ago, you're sweating. You're in a point that your body is trying to exercise and or make things difficult for your insides and your skin and your hair.
Mm.
We now are going to try to assist you to make sure your skin stays soft, your hair stays pliable, your hair stays silky smooth, whatever the case may be. Because everybody doesn't know, so it's all a learning curve. So as we
Mm.
continue getting together, people are going to ask questions. As long as people ask questions, we're going to have a ton of answers. And when there's a collaboration, the collaboration speaks volume because two people don't come together. Two businesses will not come together if they don't foresee a better future.
Mm. Yeah, that's definitely true there. Speaking on a better future, we talk about the barbecue aspect of it, and it's free, right? Who don't like free food, right? And you
Yeah,
come out there and you showcase something that's greater than yourself, right? And something that um, I grew up on was, we go as a community to go to the park. We play basketball, we play football, we play baseball, whatever the case may be. We got together as youth, and these days the communities are lacking the youth getting together to actually play sports or get together and play some type of outdoor activity. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that we need more social interaction between our children and our youth growing in. And so
yeah,
having the sports and having the other small businesses come together and put on community events helps boost that opportunity for that social engagement to come through, right? I
right,
was talking with someone to help us with our website to redesign it for a little bit, and they talked about youth clinics, right? And that's a big thing, is that a lot of times, in order for us to keep our youth stateside, we got to look at putting together youth clinics and camps, so that way
right,
we can develop our next generation. And I'm big on mentoring and being mentored, right? Because even in the Bible, Paul mentoring Timothy, right? And so we have that person we can go to that can mentor us, but then we got to turn around and
right,
take that information and give it right back out. And so when we take that information and give it out to the youth, and we enable them to be leaders of the next generation, it sets up a better example for those to come. Because when it looks like we're just all focused on the violence, because the media is all focused on the
right,
violence and being biased, that positive impact isn't there anymore, and the youth can't trust anybody. So when you do those free events and charity games and different things like that, and you say, okay, well, if we do this event right here in this charity, we're going to give back to the youth. Okay, what's the first thing that they need? They need new playgrounds, they need new buildings for
right,
schools, whatever.
right,
So we give back to them that way, and it's going to continue to encourage them to want to come back and bring their friends more and more. And even if you do like a block party, because we don't see block parties that much often anymore either, and that was a big thing growing up too. So those block parties were key as well.
yeah.
But when you look at bringing the community together even more, how do you think the marketing aspect plays a key in bringing the community together? Because you got to post about it, you got to word of mouth, different things like that. We don't have flyers where we can just post anymore because people don't even like that any day?
That's a very good question. And I agree with you. People don't like paper no more. They don't want to see flyers. They don't want to deal with it. Even down to business cards. Believe it or not, people don't even, they take a business card and they stick it in something, and an hour later, they plumb forgot about it. So one of the things that I found out is if you create something smaller than a piece of paper, but then they're able to crunch up, and of course, bigger than a business card, they tend to have to put it somewhere where it's not in the way, yet it's always going to be seen. So they're always going to be like, okay, what's this? Like, this is the reason why. There's a funny thing. I learned this many, many years ago. If you ever had received a ticket from a police officer many, many years ago, even now, you see that the ticket has become much more longer versus what it was many years ago, even down to the color. It went from white to yellow and even sometimes blue now. One of the biggest companies out there, which is, I believe, is CVS. CVS will give you a mile-long receipt for 2 items. So they believe that the more paper they put on it is beneficial. No, it's only going to create more of a problem. But some people would go back to that long piece of paper. So when you talk about marketing and word of mouth is crucial, especially now with social media being the biggest thing. Social media now is the platform that if you can make it big on social media, your entity will make it just as big. And believe it or not, it comes in 2 phases, because the person watching the company on social media has to believe that there's someone that's in that company that they can actually have some type of bond or trust with. So that's going to be big key moving forward, I believe, in any aspect, or any company rather. It's crucial, because when you look at mainstream media now and the commercials, they usually have some big artist or some big actor promoting their items, and it works only because people gravitate to that person. But yet the concept still stays the same as it was many, many years ago. Many, many years ago, it was like, for example, the Marlboro Man. The Marlboro Man would walk around with cigarettes and a cowboy hat. Everybody said, well, I'm going to be that brave guy. I'm going to smoke these cigarettes. 20 years later, you got lung cancer. 10 years after that, you wind up dying. They don't tell you that stuff, but they just want you to believe that you're going to become that strong man, and that's what you're going to go with. You know, we look at now how a lot of these companies, they deal with, promoting sexualities. Okay, bikinis and 6-packs. You're not seeing no fat guy like myself promoting any type of soap on mainstream. No, they're not going to do that. I mean, Faison, the actor, they would never give him a contract to promote anything because they don't see him being something that's going to draw the attention. Yet on social media, it's the complete opposite. Social media, they're going to go with, okay, it's funny, it's interesting. What about it? Why they're doing it? What is so big about that company that everybody's going to? Why does it have 1 million likes? Why does it have 2 million shares? That's what they're looking at. That's what's going to actually make the company big. So when we talk about marketing, I believe now it becomes a totally different change of how things are done. And we as small businesses, that's something that we're going to have to focus on. We're going to, with the collaborations that I've seen you've done already, and talking about Brother Ron out the pit, we've done a lot of collaborations already, and just watching how each of our channels is growing, that's a clue on how to promote business as well. Because of course, more people come in, holding more lives, holding more collabs. People are like, why is it that they're on doing collabs with that company? What's that company about? Whether it's basketball, sport, why they want to focus on this guy here named Shaq? He don't look like he know what he's doing, but he got a basketball team. Okay, so let's talk about why he's doing it. Let's talk about why he's going that route. Let's listen to his testimony on why he believes this is going to build something for the future generation of children that is missing over the course of years. Because let's not forget, for many, many years, we actually watched people play basketball in the basketball courts for many years, and it was a big thing in New York. Matter of fact, in I think it's West 4th Street in Lower Manhattan, there was always a basketball tournament with major actors and major stars going there. So to cut it real short, with the media and marketing, it's a tight ship. Yet it can be done because of word of mouth and social media help with the 1,000 likes and shares.
Hey, that's true. And you talked about one of the good things is like you said, the marketing, the media, But the bad thing too is the propaganda, right? We fall
Yes.
short to the propaganda of the media and of marketing in general. And it was brought up before too, and I was talking with Ron because he brought it up, is about how Dr. J played in the ABA before, and then how he went to Rucker Park and played in Rucker Park, and people will fill rooftops, and that's back when rooftop basketball was a thing, and everybody knew about Dr. J before he even became famous, and then when the ABA and the NBA merged, he became even more famous through
Right.
playing in the
Right.
NBA, and it's like how can we look at community involvement and marketing when we look at the positive impact or even the impact it has in general on our community, because it can be more than just entertainment. When we look at the ABA
Right.
today, it's about how can we entertain our fans and keep them in our seats from start to finish. And
Right.
it's like for us this season, like I said, what we're trying to do different, we're bringing in the video game trailers, we're bringing in a photo booth with the Dover Dogs logo on it so people can take pictures during the games. We're trying to get the fog machines out there so that way we can do some introductions with the fog machines.
Right.
We're trying to be more community involved, and during halftime, instead of having people just perform whatever, we can bring the
Right.
youth in and say, hey, let's play a game of knockout, or let's put together some type of um, obstacle course or event. That way people can be able to dish out that word of mouth to their friends and family. And when we look at selling season tickets, hey, if it costs $12 a game for 10 games for our entire season, that's $120. But I'm selling you a season ticket for $50. Then that's a steal right there, right? So we're trying
Yeah.
to market that way. And when people look at it, it's like, why are those tickets so cheap? Then you're a decent team. Prime example, right? The Savannah Bananas. Everybody
Okay.
knows who the Savannah Bananas are today. They started out, they were really, starting to die out on the verge of just going away from playing, that semi-pro baseball. And you look at it now, and the owners that purchased it, like the tickets are super cheap to go. They travel everywhere, and the
Yeah.
way they perform is allowing us to watch the game in a different mindset and a different perspective. Because now, believe it or not, the WNBA, just jumping side to sports here, is becoming more popular than the NBA, in my opinion, right now, because seats are starting to fill up. Why? Because Caitlin Clark, she can shoot the ball, she can handle the ball. When you look at
Okay.
the NBA now, you got a prime example with the draft last night is, a player got drafted to the Utah Jazz, and he all on his face, he's shown he did not want to beat her at all. Where another player, he got drafted, and you can see the tears just coming down his face. Why?
Right.
Because he was excited that his hard work had paid off. And so when
Right.
we look at that impact that we have in the community, our body language is allowing us to express how we actually feel about our community and how the community can be more involved with that. Um,
That
and
those are facts. Those are facts. And it's a shame, if I could just piggyback off what you're saying real quick. It's a shame when you see a player or a person who's being what's the word you use, when they're being voted into the team and they show negative action. You're going to play for a major team. It's time for you to shine. Don't worry about what the team is known for. Make it better. Unfortunately, I believe in the sports field, okay, as a person who used to watch sports many years ago, I believe the financial concept is what's making any sport very, very difficult to be part of.
mm,
And as you mentioned, it's kind of funny. The banana something team of in Georgia, they had a segment about him a few weeks ago on the major news network, and I was trying to figure out why this guy was dressed up like a giant banana, all in yellow, and then to kind of find out is because he wants to do it. And then, of course, here in South Carolina, we have CCU, which is also a major baseball team, and they're making it big too. And there was the point where they were getting upset because they couldn't finance the stadium because they didn't get the amount of people coming in. What they didn't realize was that there's a lot of ties to it. Too many hands in the pot spoils the soup. So they worked it out. They fixed it. Now they're playing again. And like you said, tickets are less expensive because you want the involvement. And as long as you don't look at the concept of the financial aspect, or I want to get rich in one day, that's going to turn a lot of people away. Okay, I'll give you a fact. I've never gone to a baseball game ever since the hot dogs went from $3 to $12. Mm-hmm. Ain't happening. Okay, I'm not paying $12 for one hot dog and $22 for a beer. Ain't happening. Okay. Besides the fact of how I saw a lot of going back to the Yankees, this is how far back it was when Dave Winfield and Willie Randolph were still part of the Yankees. Once they got drafted off or shaved off or whatever they call it, pushed away, I gave up on baseball. It was no fun to me no more because players that believe in the sport, because that's the thing, you got to go back to the love of the game. And I apologize, taking a little too long. When you take away the joy of the sport, that messes up everything. So when people come back to enjoy the games and they see it's affordable, that's what's going to increase it because they're going to turn around and tell other people.
Yeah, that's true right there is the enjoyment of the game, right? Because, a lot of people that just staying on basketball for a little bit is a lot of people watched Michael Jordan growing up, and you can see how he kept the fans engaged and how when he attacked the basket, he scored, or when he played defense, how he can turn that into offense and score points or whatever the case may be. Right. And then when you look at the transition when Iverson crossed over Michael Jordan and then, he scored. And then when he stepped over Tyronn Lue in the 2001 NBA Finals, that brought a lot of engagement and excitement to the game. And then when you look at the side to that, though, is everyone thinks they're a shooter. You can be 5'10", you can be 6'7", and everybody wants to shoot a 3-point instead of attacking the basket or posting up or whatever the case may be. And that's the reason why I feel that a lot of people are leaving the stands of the NBA and going to the WNBA because female basketball players, for some reason, focus more on the fundamentals than a lot of the male athletes do. And when you look at those fundamentals and you go back to the basics, that's what we're selling tickets in the beginning. And that's what was bringing fans out because they enjoy watching people enjoy the fundamentals. And when you look at people now like Caitlin Clark, she can dribble the basketball, she can attack the basket, she can shoot a jump shot. When you look at, athletes like Paige Beckers, who can do the same exact thing, even though she had injuries, she still got back up, she recovered, and she's playing her best basketball today. People make fun of Angel Reese because she shoots a layup and or a jump shot, she misses it, but she gets her own rebound. And then, 10 rebounds later and she got a double-double. And it's like, but, she's going back to what she knows of how to play big man basketball. And, right. She thrives off of the hate and the feedback. And so it's really interesting because I don't know the last time I've been to a Sixers game, but I know the last time I've been to a Phillies game was like 2018 was like the last time I've been to a Phillies baseball game in person. Okay. But then you look at like even semi-pro AAA baseball. For us, we got the Lancaster Barnstormers. And so I was at one of those games back in 2016, and the difference and, engagement with the community, the fan engagement is a lot different than you look at the professional level. It's even sad to see when the Little League World Series come on, and you can see the little kids are better with sportsmanship, better with, yes. The fans involved. And, these adults are crying like, LeBron James, for example, he gets hit in the head and he wants to go cry on the sideline, or he wants to stomp his feet in the middle of the court in the middle of a game. Like, that stuff right there, it has to be a respectable time and place, because that right there, it drives the enjoyment of the game away. And that's why I feel like a lot of people are starting to leave, because they're losing the enjoyment and the excitement of the game. And even with college basketball, biggest thing that drives more people to college basketball is what? March Madness. That time of the year comes around, everybody's college basketball. Like, that's what I need to be focused on, because it's upsetters. Everybody's going to Madison Square Garden to play, or they're going down, south, or wherever they have it at. And it's like, I really enjoy March Madness, even though I'm a Villanova fan and I haven't seen them in the tournament in 3 years now, just about. And it's like, well, we got to change something, but you still have a passion and a love for your team and for your game. And, that even leads us to the next question. is, what nonprofits or, different causes are out there to partner with, or with our organizations that we can look into, that will help us not only bring in that fan engagement, but that more community involvement as well.
Well, that's a good question, and I could only answer that question based off the knowledge I obtained when I was up north in the tri-state area. When you're dealing with nonprofit organizations, it's a great asset to have a nonprofit organization, and you have to do your due diligence and research with the nonprofits, because unfortunately, a lot of the nonprofits, they're always looking for a kickback versus the community engagement. And that's where it gets tricky, because then it comes back down to a financial concept, with the one person gaining or one entity gaining more than the actual understanding of what its purpose is. So from what I remember, when you deal with, in this scenario, we're going to talk about the 501c. 501cs are supposed to help out when you don't have the finances to create that community engagement. They're supposed to be the ones that you're supposed to go to have that money, to utilize it at a in your sense, a basketball court in the park, or to hold a community game. And they're supposed to put the funding up, because they're the ones that's actually going to create the majority of the funding, so that this basketball team or this basketball event can take place. Unfortunately, down here in the South, we don't have many organizations like that. So it's really tricky to say that we're going to look for a nonprofit organization, because down here, a nonprofit organization is actually a religious building. Okay. And that's where you're going to get your most involvement from, because they're very, very religious down here. And it's very tricky to go talk to a religious building or people of a congregation about something that they may not believe in. So it's kind of tricky. But up north, where you are, and being that you're in Pennsylvania, I'm sure there's a boatload of companies you can reach out to collab with, and or nonprofits to collab with. One specifically I could think of is SCORE, SCORE. It's a mentorship for people who want to get into business, and they collab very much with the Small Business Association. And they are the ones that actually have the full lists of every state up north that are nonprofits. And those are the ones that you may want to get in touch with to see exactly who's involved in sports. For what I remember, inside the city of Newark in New Jersey, okay, there was a 501c that was inside Newark, New Jersey, and they specifically would hold basketball tournaments every weekend in the summer in a specific playground. What I call playground is a basketball court. And it wasn't inside a park. It was on a major road strip. Yet they're the ones that actually funded the city parks to allow it to happen, from the signage to the beverages to the vendors that would come through. So I could only speak of what I remember. I would think the best avenue for you would reach out to the SBA and or SCORE to see what nonprofit organizations can assist you in your journey.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful for us. And I was mainly asking because a lot of times when we look at like that community engagement, keeping the fans involved and different things like that, we look at the nonprofit aspect of it and how we can get the nonprofit involved. Because when we say, we're going to have this community event, but we're partnering with this nonprofit, and a lot of people may be familiar with that nonprofit, and it was like it draws more people and more attention. And so one of the biggest things that we're trying to do this season as a small business organization is partner with at least 5 nonprofit organizations, because we want to do like a faith on the court night is what I call it, where we bring in like a church or 5 churches, and we have them perform at halftime with, like I said, either knockout or something like that, and then they get to take pictures with the players, sit down, have some dinner with the players, different things like that. And that's one of the biggest things that we're trying to do this season, is partner with more nonprofit and get more community involved and more community engagement. But that also leads us to the next question or topic point is, what kind of workshops or events do you see that we can offer, whether it's us as a basketball team or you guys as, top to bottom, how we can offer these workshops or events to bridge that social gap for our community and the services that we offer.
That's a very good question. And it's so good that I'm going to try to keep it very minimized, only because when I hear workshops, it actually deals with people coming in and sitting and wanting to learn. Unfortunately, with the way things are now with technology, people don't even have I want to keep it loosely, the attention span to sit for more than 45 minutes. They want to get into something that's very actionable. So this pertains more to you guys as a basketball team, because now you can have them engage on the actual basketball court, play around with them. Just like the old school thing was called the Harlem Globetrotters. Mm-hmm. Harlem Globetrotters used to have a game every single Saturday at Madison Square Garden, and it was free. It was free. It was open to the public. They used to come by, go on the actual court in Madison Square Garden and play with the guys from the Harlem Globetrotters. And it was a big thing because now, of course, these people who wanted to learn about basketball, this is where you get to ask questions. This is where you get to even possibly recruit new people coming in, and as well as teach them why the sport is so needed for certain use. It builds character. It builds stamina. It gives them something to look forward to. And the big thing, a lot of times people look at the ultimate goal, which is the money concept. We want to try, and I'm sure you want to get away from the money concept. It's more about the enjoyment, like you mentioned before, about the little league, the little league playing inside the World Series. I'm a big fan of that. I used to watch it very, very much. Okay, and it's like softball. I prefer to watch women's softball before I actually watch a baseball game, because, like you said, it's all about the enjoyment about the sport and the sportsmanship and learning what it's all about. That's the good. I think that's going to be your biggest hurdle, trying to get the community involved. Yet, it's not something that's not going to be able to happen. It just takes time for the people to realize, okay, this is a man who has his team. He is allowing us to partake in what he's doing. I mean, even down to, like as you mentioned before, a lot of the games, bringing games in and everybody being on the actual court. That's something good too, because they get to see exactly what it's all about. Even if they've never been there, or even if they've been there, it tends to be a good thing. So I think you're in the right direction with that. And it's difficult for us as a company to give a workshop when the attention span for many people are not interested in learning why we have to use this ingredient, why we have to use this amount of product, why we have to use this product versus that product. And the reason why I say that is because we've already done a lot of tips and tricks on our website and on our YouTube page. And we look at the analytics about who's watching, who's not watching. And when you, for example, when you see you have 200 people in your subscriber list and only 25 people are watching a YouTube video and they're only watching it for 5 minutes, those are the things that we got to figure out what's going to keep them engaged. Mm-hmm. What we've done is we've actually held game nights and game shows. That involvement intrigued a lot of people to follow up with the actual videos where we put it out, because as we're doing the games, we're doing our PSAs. We're letting them know, we appreciate you being here. This is a fun time. Go to the website, check this out if you have this situation, that situation, and or if you know somebody. So it goes back to word of mouth again. So it's kind of tricky when we have a workshop. It's the attention span is. And again, we're talking about dealing with chemicals. A lot of people don't want to sit there. More people will be like, you know what, just make it for me and I'll buy it. Which is how top to bottom actually started. It's one of the big things. And I apologize, I couldn't give you a more directive answer, but yet it's a good question. Yet we couldn't deal with that one. That's more your field.
I like that, because even then, right? Because like we see, right, is that the workshop, just showing the ins and outs of how to make a product. I think that is great to have, especially in the communities, because again, it drives community involvement, engagement. But also, a lot of people, and I'm not sure if I'm using this term correct, are ignorant towards how we do different things like that. And so when you look at okay, how do you make a candle? but my attention span of watching a video is like 30 seconds. So,
Right.
if we have that workshop in person and I'm a more of a hands-on person already,
Right.
how can you teach me in person how to make that candle from scratch? Because now, I can take and bring in my nephews or my nieces and sit with them and say, hey, I got a project that we can do. We can
Right.
learn how to make candles today. Or I can sit here and say, okay, here's a workshop on what it's like to be a basketball player. Let's sit down and show you how to get the fundamentals of how to shoot the basketball the correct
Right.
way, how you have your feet, how you have your elbow, eye
Right.
contact, different things like that. And so
Right.
I think it's like even, uh, you know, early 2000s when workshops were really a big thing and social media was just like really minimum,
Right.
that was a good thing. And if we bring back to the basics, it allows us to actually dive more into the getting the fans engaged and getting that community engaged, which leads us to this question here, right? Where it talks about do we sing the national anthem before the games, right? Is we do. And one of the things that I like to look at too as well for this upcoming season, not only just having a national anthem sung by someone in the crowd, but also doing what the NFL has been doing with lift every voice and sing is playing that as well, or having someone else come in and sing that too. Because again, like you said, it brings more fan engagement. It drives
Right.
more of that involvement. And then if someone says, "Well, I got the chance to sing at the Dover Dogs,"
Right.
maybe you got an opportunity, right? So now
Right.
that's another way for us to go out there and say, okay, let's enter a competition to where we see who can sing.
Right.
And then you can perform our national anthem or you can perform Lift Every Voice and Sing. The other thing is getting dancers.
Yeah.
Let's put some dancers together. Let's dance at halftime. Let's dance during the game.
That's
Different
right.
things like that, right? And it's like we've been doing all along is networking and
Right.
word of mouth and putting it all out there, right? Because people may think, oh, well, you guys know each other. Well, this is what, like the third, fourth day that we actually talked with each other. And it's like, we're working together and it's decent because, we live in states away and, we've got hair care product from you guys and skincare product and it works. And we put that review out there, but people will never be able to tell that we never knew each other before, we jumped on the live and talked or whatnot, because the product, it put that social gap and it bridged that missing part there, and it helped us out, right? And then you say, well, I got these people who make skincare product and hair care product. I'm gonna go talk to everybody that I know about it, and now they're gonna
Right.
go check it out. And then when you look at vice versa, like, dang, I got this great young man who has a basketball team that's up north.
Right.
You want to go check them out, and then it keeps pushing that around, because then at the end of the day, it's you're only as, like they say, you're only as strong as your weakest person on your team,
True.
right? When we build a team, we're building a team of small business owners together. And so, when you guys become successful, we become successful. And when we become
True.
successful, Ron's opinion don't matter, become successful and different things, because we're all working together as a team
Right.
to help support each other. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize, is that they think that when I start this idea, on June 27th at 9 a.m., by June 28th at 9 a.m., I expect to be rich and I expect to have a lot of money in the bank account. But they forget the steps in between, the sleepless nights,
Yeah.
the wrestle that you got to go back and forth with. Is like, man, was this worth it? Did I make a mistake? You're doubting yourself, you're doubting your game, you're doubting, the why. And a lot of times when we get that self doubt, it's the enemy telling us that we are not worth it and that it's not
Right.
worth
Right.
pushing forward. And then when we look at it and we remember our why we started, is so I can be, more involved with my family, spend time at home, give
Right.
back to the community, different things like that. It brings more strength and empowerment to what we're doing, right? And like Ron says, is never give up. You always got to keep pushing forward and keep your
Always
best
got to
foot.
keep pushing forward.
And then
Absolutely.
it goes to our next top and final talking point is, how do you think our small businesses can empower the youth and our communities?
Well, that's a nice question. And I'm going to give you it in two parts. The first thing is we're going to show we can, as we're collabing together, we can show how a young individual like yourself, a young male, that has a love for a sport to create and own his own team under the age of 50. Okay. That's what I'm going to go with. That speaks volume. That speaks that anybody can do it as long as they push to get it done. As far as the company wise, yeah, we can always show people how to become successful. It is, do they want to do the hard work? Do they want to do the sleepless nights? Do they want to sit back one day and be like, damn, I'm just going to give up everything? I mean, I've sat and watched my wife many, many days and many, many times. I'm going to give up. That's it. I can't. And it's hard. So the thing is that we have to understand that we have to push hard. The harder we push, the more successful we come. And when I sit back, and I said this before, and I don't think you heard me when I said it, and I know for a fact Out the Pit is somewhere listening. Out the Pit's another young man who's under the age of 50 that is also becoming very successful with his business. And I applaud the individuals that struggle under the age of 30, under the age of 45, should I say, to create something that's financially stable. Because at the end of the day, you want, like you said, you want to be there for your family. And if you turn around and show society and the youths on how successful you've become in such a short period of time. Yeah, I know I said youths. It goes back to a movie that I watched. My cousin Vinny, to be exact. The youths would actually realize that it's not all about the shoes. It's not about the $300 shoes, the $600 jackets. It's about the love of the sport and creating a small business. Learning how to actually make money for yourself is a beautiful thing. Let's go back many years on. You see the little kid or the little girl selling at the lemonade stand. You know, I came across a story, a real quick statement. I came across a story about a month ago about this little boy who was selling hot dogs in front of his house, and somebody came over and said, you know, you can't be selling hot dogs out there. That's against the law. They went to the city commission and they complained about it. What the city did, the city turned around, all the police officers, all the paramedics, all the firemen, they all came together, got his paperwork together, got him certified, got his business license, got him everything without no money out of his pocket. And now he's the biggest hot dog seller on his block. So it comes down to, we have to show people, even the young generation, because the younger generation right now is the strongest point, because if we don't teach them now how to become successful, whether it be by business and or for the love of sport, they're not going to realize what they're missing out on, where the actual financial gain is at. And I think that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's is key as well, right? Is we can't always expect, like you said, to know everything right away. In a nutshell, we have to be able to want to learn, and we have to be able to want to grow. Because at the end of the day, you know, if we have that support from our community, someone in our community will be able to direct us in that right direction. They will be able to point us and say, hey, listen, you're supposed to do it this way and not that way, because you don't have the proper credentials or anything, like you just said. And when we look at empowerment, is the community. We look at a lot of times where we see how bad Los Angeles is doing, how bad Chicago is doing, how bad Philadelphia is doing, right? And that's all we see and that's all we know. But let's talk about how good these cities are doing, right? Because let's say you know, crime rate is down, or let's say that gun violence is down in general. We should be celebrating the little victories, and I think we get away from that a lot. Is we tend to focus on the bigger victories and say, well, I didn't reach that, but how many smaller victories did you reach in order to get to that bigger victory? It could be 10, it could be 5, who knows? But it's a huge impact, and you got to look at that. And you know, I was watching a video on YouTube not that long ago where it talked about, you know, you set a to-do list for yourself every single day. And when and first thing you do is you wake up, you make your bed. You've accomplished one thing. So if you don't accomplish anything else in the day, you accomplished one thing by making your bed. And when you come home from a long day of work, you come home to a made bed that you made, right? And then you turn around and you look at it as like, okay, so if I set small goals for myself, okay, I made my bed. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna post a link, or I'm gonna go out and get in the community for 2 hours, and I do all of that stuff.
Right.
But it was a hassle. It was hot, sweaty. I'm tired by the end of it all. But was it worth it?
Right.
That's the question: is what is your why? Was it worth it? What did you personally gain? Because every time you do a community event, every time you do a basketball event, every time you do a pop-up shop, right? You gain something different out of each event that you do, and it's humbling and it's blessing at the same time, because you meet someone different every single time, and then you don't know who you're interacting with, because you can talk to someone and say, hey, we need $20,000 in order to operate, and
Right.
that person you're talking to could be a multimillionaire, and then
Yeah.
they could bless you, right? And so
Absolutely.
it's about how you present yourself, as your body language. It's how you utilize your education, your knowledge to empower that next generation, that next person, because someone else may be in the same shoes you were. They're trying to start a small business, and how you approach them and talk to them is how they perceive everything that you do. And it's like, well, is all business owners going to be, quote unquote uptight, or they want to be rude and just brush us off, right? But no, it's
Right.
like, oh, and I face this a lot sometimes when I'm out and about. It's like, hey, I don't know who you are, so just keep it pushing, keep it moving. But
Right.
you
Right.
don't let that defeat you. You got to let that motivate you to want to go out and prove them wrong, because the second that you prove them wrong, they're going to want to come around more and more and more. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry. Like, I really misjudged you. And that's saying that, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. That's key too, because like I said, you don't know who you're talking to, and right, you could be
Right.
entertaining an angel, right? And
True.
God's gonna bless you tenfold, and you never know.
Right.
But it's how we perceive the way the world is, and how we go about our everyday life. Because if I go around and I'm grumpy and mopey and angry every single day, then I'm gonna just be an angry, mopey person. Nobody
Yeah.
likes it. So
You're not gonna have a business.
exactly right. Nobody wants to play for your team. Nobody wants to go shop at your store, because the way your attitude is, and your attitude is definitely something that isn't easy to control, but isn't hard to control either. It's something that you
True.
have to work on every single day, and you have to be open to criticism, because if you're not
Yes.
open to criticism as a business owner, then how do you expect your community to be trusting and more involved in what you have to do? Because if they say, hey, this game wasn't entertaining because of X, Y, and Z reason, let me go fix that really fast. Let me see why, like what really happened. And then you go back and you watch what happened at that exact time and moment. And then you can say, oh, well, let me go talk to this player because this happened.
Right.
And I want to see why this happened, so that way we can fix it going forward.
Right.
And like the biggest thing too is even talking to referees at basketball games, right? The fans see how you interact with the referees. And I'll be the first to admit, we were in the second round of the playoffs last year, first year team. We got knocked out of the playoffs. We were losing, but we weren't losing as bad. And one of the guys from the other team was trying to box out one of my players, and he ended up clipping his legs and taking him out completely. Like, he landed on his neck, and like at the time, my head coach was there, and he didn't really step up and say something like that. And so I stepped up, and I'm yelling at the referee, and we get a timeout called, and I'm on the court, and I'm just like you blind, you didn't see that, like he could have killed my players. I said the safety of my players come first, and I'm just ripping them a new one, and everybody's seeing this. And then at the end of the game, a young kid comes up to me and goes, man, you just got to let some of that stuff go. And I'm like, wow, like that's probably some of the most wisest words a kid can have. But like, everybody's watching, even when it feels like nobody's watching, like somebody's always watching. And it's like,
Right.
dang, I was humbled at that time. But it's like, you still got to look out for your player safety. And when
True.
your fans and your teammates and everybody on your team see that you as an owner is sticking up for your players and your staff members, they look
Right.
at you differently, and they respect you a lot more. So it's really interesting.
It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged
Yeah.
sword, because if you don't stick up for your players, the players think that you're not going to look out for them ever. If you don't show the fans you have compassion, they're going to look at you kind of sideways as well. Then you have those fans that are expecting you to jump in there and rip that referee a good one. That's what they want. That's what they're paying for, because that's what they want from you. So it's like a double-edged sword. And it's a shame on how we all as business owners, we have to learn that there's a point where we cannot go up to. There's a very thin line that we have to walk up to as angry as we are and just step up to it and then scale back, not to cross over that line. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't even know where that line is at, because even like in our company, for me, and this was a situation that I kept, having debates with the wife is, I'm like, how is it possible that we can sit here and watch another person's video for 2.5 hours, let them know that we're watching, give them comments and all this other stuff, and that person won't even spend not even 5 minutes with us. It's disturbing to me, and it's like, okay, how is it possible? Or even if we present a product out there and other people like, yeah, it's great product, and then another person that we've already interacted with, but like, well, I ain't gonna buy it. But you sat there with, like, how, what? I don't understand that. And of course, I have to scale myself back. I don't blow all that dumb, because in all honesty, I want to, do like I did old school. I want to blur it out. I don't care whose feelings I hurt. I don't care what it is, because at the end of the day, you're not actually benefiting me, and I'm not going to benefit you no more. That's the petty Eddie in me, So I have to scale that back a lot. And I understand your point, because you have a particular business and sport, so you wear multiple hats. And wearing multiple hats makes it even more difficult, because now you have to decide, which hat am I going to put on at this moment, which is going to make the company look bad, which is going to make my players look bad, and or which is going to boost the morale of my players. Because, of course, the coach is not the only one that has to jump in everybody's face. They, too, want to see the one who's backing them. This is who I'm looking out for. I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for your health, because at the end of the day, I want you healthy, like you said. And you cannot have a player sitting on the bench, because that player's morale is going to get worse and worse and worse if they're only on the bench. It's just a known fact. And one of the things I saw in one of your videos is how you allowed everybody to get onto the court, regardless on the experience, regardless on their skill. You put them all in rotation, which was a great thing that I saw. And it's been a long time since I follow basketball, yet you have a very, very good skill that I commend you on. You really do.
Yeah, I think it's that right there in itself is hard to do a lot, because a lot of people, their egos get in the way. And you talk about, I'm not getting this much playing time. You here for what reason? I've traveled so far to play, but I'm only getting 12 minutes of playing time, right? When you look at NBA players, some of the NBA players only getting 6 minutes of playing time. So, like, what makes you better than them? If you were better than them, you would be up there right away. Right. In reality, we're not up there just yet. And so, my mindset is I'm going to put players into the game in a position to where they're going to be successful and not hinder their performance or, their confidence in playing the game that they love. And so it's a lot harder than it looks like, but, sometimes you got to put on the face to allow people to see, like, hey, I actually care about my players, my organization, like you said. And so just to answer the question really fast is, why did we choose the Bulldogs for a mascot? And so, going through into the organization as a whole, we were looking at multiple names. And so originally we were supposed to be Westchester Royals or the Westchester Kings. And then I got a business partner, and we came up with a list of names of moving the team from Pennsylvania into Delaware. And so we did that. And Dover Dogs was one of the names. And I'm like, that's a good name. I like it a lot. And the other one was in Wilmington, but, at the time I knew nothing about Dover, and I wanted to be able to build a name for the team we're playing for. So I'm like, Dover Dogs. I like it. It's catchy. And it's funny that it's the Bulldog as the mascot, because my high school mascot was a Bulldog as well. So it kind of like intertwines, and it's really interesting. And so when you look at a Bulldog, you can look at the grit, the fight, the determination it has to stand up to dogs that's bigger than them, even dogs that's smaller than them, but they have that determination. And so when people look at the team, we want them to look at a team that has that grit, that fight, that determination to give 100%, no matter who steps on the court, no matter how we perform on the court, win, lose, or draw. We're going to go out there and give it our best. And so a lot of teams, even referees, have gave us their thumbs up of approval for the hustle, the heart that this team has based off of the performance that we played. And a lot of people don't notice if they haven't followed up much or done the research is that we've only won 3 official games out of our season last year. And that was just hard work, dedication, and people sticking it through to the end. A lot of people leaving and a lot of people getting kicked off the team for whatever reason it may be. But rebuilding in the middle of the season was probably the hardest thing I had to do last year.
Oh, absolutely.
And to tackle that too, it was like, we needed to bring a coach in because last year I was the coach, the owner, the general manager, scores table, live stream, ticket sales. Like I was doing it all, even merch sales by myself. And then towards the end, I got some word of mouth from players. Hey, this person might be a great fit. Let's plug them in. And then that's kind of how we got to where we are to win our 3 games. But then we had some forfeits in between each game that we played. And the league doesn't really count forfeits as a win in our win column. So if we counted the 4 forfeits that we had, we would have a total of 7 wins in our first season. So yeah, we did make the playoffs, but it was mainly because a lot of people dropped out of the division, and we just stuck it through. And if it wasn't for mentors that we had, like one of the teams we played is called the PG Valor, and they're based out of Maryland, and the owner from around this time last year reached out to me. Hey, how you doing with sponsorships? Hey, how you doing with scheduling your games? Hey, you should look at this. You should try this out. And she was giving me everything that I need to know to be successful in this organization. And so she's like my mentor. And so like if I have a question I need to bounce off of her, I'll text her, call her, and say, hey, I got this question. And we'll spend hours on the phone talking about my question and getting my answer and until I'm satisfied with everything like that. And so we're trying to build it to more than what it actually is. And it's about more than just ourselves. And so even then, when we look at it as, like you said, it's a team sport, as everybody's effort. But this season, we are blessed to have 2 coaches. One, the coach from last year, he's coming on again this year. And then we have a Delaware State University Hall of Famer for basketball. And it's really interesting how he came onto the team. And, he's our head coach. But then we got a player who's almost 7'2", who played his freshman season at University of Tennessee. So, we got a lot of, different things from there. And our average height went from last season about 5'11", 5'10" roughly, to this season around 6'6" as our average height on the team. So we definitely got some height.
Got some good height,
we got some coaches that can push our talent to the next level. And we got, a general manager in place, who can also pick up the realm when I'm not available. And, he can say, hey, listen, this is what we need to do. This is how we're going to be successful, and kind of go from there. When we look at she was my president of operations last season. And this season, I kind of want to bring her on as my advisor to the CEO, because she knows a lot more about the sports realm of business and bringing development into the business. And so as the advisor to the CEO, she's worked with Delaware State University for countless years in the athletic department. She's worked with the local high school and kind of got them developed and different things like that. And so we're definitely blessed all around. And so, all glory to God, because even for next year, June of next year, we're bringing in a women's semi-pro team, and we got already so we got
that's a big move.
Yeah, so we got the players, the coach ready to go. We're just looking for a venue, and then we're pretty much set up for that women's team. And then we're bringing in a youth travel team as well within the next year or two, and getting more of that engagement with the community and involvement. And so a lot of the stuff like that I'm talking about now and that I've been able to do is definitely not because of the work that I've put in, but because God's been blessing me with the people to bring around to support me and my vision and my dreams. And like everyone's saying in the chat, 6'6" tall boys.
They're pretty impressed in there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've heard a little bit about Mike Sports 5. He's a big basketball guy. I went onto his channel and I see nothing but basketball. So for him to turn around and say you're in the right direction, I'm going to concur and say you're in the right direction. And I commend you. Just on what you had said before, as all those hats you wore, and still winning 3 games, still only forfeiting 3 games out of a whole season, and still being able to go into the playoffs, that speaks volume. That speaks volume, because that's a struggle that I see, that the struggle and a passion that you have for the sport, not only for the business, because it was more, I believe, and I'm going to go on a whim here. I believe you was looking forward more to the sport, the love of the sport, versus the actual business concept.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. Yeah, it's definitely a love for the game. You know, I was so zealous about starting this basketball team up last year that I didn't know what I was getting into. And I scheduled like every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we had a basketball game. Saturday, Sunday, I'm going. And then I'm like, I still got to work a full-time job. I'm still in grad school. I'm still a father. So I got all these hats I'm juggling. And I'm like, man, I can't do this next year. I got to step back a little bit. And I was like, found myself in. I'm like, this year, one game a weekend. There's 2
Okay.
weekends, our opening weekend, and then right after Thanksgiving, we got back-to-back games, and it just had to be that way. But every other game after that, it's just one game a weekend, and it works away, home. And I was like, I'm gonna try it. Like the first season, I'm like, I'm gonna put all my away games in the beginning of the season. That way, we can travel. I don't have to worry about spending money. And then I didn't put my math together either, because towards the end of the season, every weekend I'm spending money to buy the venue, pay for referees, and play games. And I'm like, man, this is hurting us a little bit. But we drew fan engagement from that as well. And then the big thing too with that was like we met a lot of people, and we got to foster that relationship with Delaware State University because of that right there.
Okay.
And so it was definitely a good experience. Even outside of that, though, like, when people look at the business, and someone asked me this too, it's like, is this beneficial? It's beneficial for me. It might not be beneficial for you, but it's definitely beneficial to me. And so, and I tell a lot of people that ask me this is, if you can afford to pay for your franchise fee, your team dues, referee costs, your venue costs, uniforms, if you can afford to accept a no every single day and still put on a smile on your face and go out there and hustle and grind to get those sponsors, to build up partnerships, then this is the business for you, because this is where a lot of times people will smack you in the face and say, no, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to laugh in your face. Like, you're not worth it. But you proved them wrong. And so, like we did last year, we definitely proved a lot of people wrong. And now a lot of people are like reaching out social media. Hey, can we try out for your team? Hey, what are you doing the next event, and different things like that. And so it's a lot of things that we're doing that definitely works for us. And like I said, a lot of this talent that came out to try out wasn't even because I posted anything. It was because players are like, we need players, like, come out, come try out. And people just came to try out. And that's where you start to see the dedication and the hard work of the young men that's actually playing on the team, because they want to be able to be successful. And without a doubt, like, I believe it or not, I had 2 people that, like, with the design that you see on the shirt here, the Dogs basketball, 2 players came together and created this design. I had nothing to do with the design at all. And I'm like, yo, that's a great idea. And it's like, put it on t-shirts, put on hoodies, sweaters, you name it, like, people will want to buy it. And it's like, well, let me see what I can do. And real fast, as soon as I put that merchandise shop together, orders just started coming through. And I'm like, man, like, if you just trust the people that for you, like, they will bring more to that, and they're not even asking for anything out of it, and that's where you have a good team around you. They might not have the best talent, but they can bring a lot to the team, even with the little bit of talent that they have. We got
That's
players.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's a silent person that's going to bring something to the table, and even if for example, if they're not the greatest player on the court, they're the greatest player of bringing you more people, because they are the involvement that they're committing to the people, the t-shirts, the telling people, no, you got to buy my t-shirt. Yo, you got to support my team. Yo, then, that's also part of the team, because let's not forget, that's why you got a mascot, like a person that's dressed up as the mascot. They're the ones rooting everybody on. So that's the person that you're going to, have a lot of energy. They don't have mascots dressed up for nothing. There's a reason for it, because people want to see that, so it doesn't matter on who's part of the team. It matters on how well the team is meshed together to go to the ultimate goal and make things bigger. You know, small companies like yourself, myself, even though I'm starting to think you're a little bit bigger than I am, or we are rather, you know, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm very, very happy for you. Okay. And I commend you on it because it takes a lot, you know, and it's just listening to you. I've already heard you. I've listened to you 3 different times. This will be the second time we actually had the privilege to listen to you live, not Memorex. And, you know, it speaks volume. I mean, you have a vision that a lot of people would be afraid of. And all I can say to you is, you know, stick to your guns, man, and keep going forward, man. You're gonna make it big. You're gonna make it big. A lot of people are gonna come to you now. A lot of people are gonna come to you because they're hearing what you have to offer. Those people that didn't want to believe in you before, they're smacking themselves in the face and saying, I gotta find a way to come to him now. And you can sit back and say, but didn't you smack me in my face on such and such time? You thought I forgot about that? And of course, they're gonna have to humble themselves. And then, of course, that's where you decide whether you want them to be part of your journey or not. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what's gonna happen. I see it, and I can hear it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, but I'm not gonna hold up too much more time, everybody. I'm gonna give you back the rest of your evenings. I did drop the link to the merchandise job form that I created in the chat. So if you guys want to look at that, we do have our basketball jerseys up there. On that job form, and if you want to purchase one, just go ahead and do so to come directly to the team to help support us with you know, our cost for uniforms for the team, our cost for venues, travels, different things like that. You know, we have the opportunity as well, even though it's hot and raining and different things like that with the weather, we accidentally created some swimming trunks, and so it was for a reason. And now we got swimming trunks, and so a lot of those basketball shorts that you do see on the job form, we can create into swimming trunks as well now. And so if you guys want to support, we have that. Even on the job form, it links to our social media, so YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. You can go out and support the Dover Dogs by liking and subscribing that way. We do have the opportunity to donate on GoFundMe, and so I'll have that posted all up and down Facebook already, and on Instagram. It's in the bio of the Instagram account. And so if you guys want to continue to support, just feel free to do so. I'll be jumping on these very frequently to do more podcast updates and different things with the team. And July 8th, we have our next workout session. And so I'll be in Dover, Delaware, going live from our practice facility to showcase what we have and different things like that. And so I'm blessed.
Your workshop.
Exactly, right?
There goes your workshop.
Yeah, so many blessings and you know, praise to the Most High for everything that you guys accomplished and that we get to accomplish. And I'm looking forward to the partnership with everybody. So I appreciate the support from everyone, and y'all have a great night.
You do the same. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you having us on at this moment. Thank you for your time.